Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone from Melbourne, Australia, here with the Thursday edition of the Daily Gen AI News Briefing, where we rate and we debate the importance of the latest enterprise AI news, giving it a final rating of essential, important, or optional. I'm Adam Rappaport, research analyst and tech wizard, and today I have with me John Sviokla, Luda Kopakina, Ankaj Handa, and our special and returning guest analyst, Vivek Mukherjee. Vivek, great to have you back.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Adam.
Vivek is a Gen AI medical engagement lead over at Pfizer and brings a wealth of information and experience to the table. So it's always great to have him here. If you'd like to follow along from home with today's articles, you can find them on our website at gaiinsights.com/articles. And Ankaj, with that, if you'll kick us off. Good morning, Paul. Thanks for joining.
Good, thanks, Adam. So the first one that we have for today is talking about superintelligence strategy.
Yeah, who needs ASI, right? We couldn't define it anyway. Who needs AGI, right? We couldn't define it anyway. We'll just go right to ASI. John, what did you think about this strategy?
Yeah, I was going to give this an essential. Let me make the case for it, which is basically, Schmidt and his co-authors here have made the case that we have to think from a global perspective as to what's going to be our doctrine to deal with AI from a combination of, legitimate organizations as well as some, many, whatever rogue states or whatever we're going to call them. I'm reminded that the saying one of the philosophers said that your religion is truth and other people's religions are myths. But anyway, so what's a rogue state and what's not is an interesting question. But this says that basically you want to think about the frame of mind they bring to it is nuclear deterrence. And that's a combination of controlling access to algorithms and high quality chips. And then there's also a mutually assured destruction thing, which is a mutually assured AI interference, which is if somebody starts to do something significant towards superintelligence or tries to pull ahead, that there'll be a collective pact that other folks will gang up on that leader and to interfere with their AI progress, maybe interfere with their cyber defenses and so forth. So, I happen to think it's completely wrong-headed. I don't agree at all with the argument. I think it's I think thinking of intelligence as a thing is like trying to capture mercury. It's just going to squirt away from you. And I think that the descaling is going to have a significant effect in the amount of compute power on the phones. So we have nothing like that in the nuclear arsenal. You don't have many, uranium deposits in your car, for example, which I think would be the analogy. So I think it's very, very bad thinking, but I think it's an important topic. And I think if you agree with their assumptions and their frame of mind, it's very smart. I happen to think it's very stupid, but I think it's well argued. And it's a super important topic, which is why I was going to make it essential.
All right, out of the gates on a Thursday morning with an argument for essential. Vivek, what did you think?
I was on the other side completely. Maybe I can be pulled into an important, but I think as an AI leader who's reading this article, they have so many other things, and I think I'm channeling my Paul here in terms of workflow integration, upskilling, change management, just changing legacy processes. I think this is distracting. Again, it's very important. I think why it is important is that if governments enact some new mandates and policies, it will slow down progress, and it may have new rules around compliance, security, things like that. But overall, I think this is far down the line in my mind. So I was between
Ankash, could you just? Oh, sorry, Vivek. Ankash, could you just scroll down a little bit and some of the illustrations to, they have this, talks about deterrence, competitiveness, non-proliferation, and then if you go down just a little farther, it's got the, basically the mutual. Not that one, not the fishbone diagram. Next one. Keep going. Right there. Yeah. So this is the AI interference idea. And this is, anyway, it's a very simple game theoretic thing that they used in mutually assured destruction. Anyway, sorry, Vivek.
No. That's, I think this is, if it goes down this path, this article becomes very important. But right now we're trying to cure cancer. We're trying to improve so many things with AI that we've never been able to do. I think
Yes.
a lot of the AI leaders should be focused on those applications in my mind.
All right, Luda, how
Yeah.
did this strike you?
I was optional. Agree with John, hugely important topic. We have to be proactive about it. I don't see how AI leaders can contribute other than to be aware. They are aware that this can be very impactful economically and the like. So, but they cannot do much about it, I don't think. So I was optional, can be swayed into importance because it's an important topic, but optional.
Yeah, thank you. Paul, I think I already had your vote from the thumbs up as Vivek was channeling you. You don't even have to come off mute there. I'm going to call this important overall, and I think I would appreciate it if in the newsletter we emphasize that I mean, I'd like to speak at least for myself and John that our analysts don't fundamentally disagree with the views of the article, but that it's a very important topic and we want to make sure it's brought to people's attention. That doesn't mean they have to read it. If they look at that, they're like, I'm too busy. I don't even know what AGI is. Why are you talking to me about ASI? Like, that's fine. And there are people who are going to get this. And I don't want them to somehow misunderstand and think that these are our opinions or that we agree with, what's laid out here. So that's the fine line for me. Alternately, we find a better article on this really important topic for another night soon, and we call it optional. But,
yeah, and Ashish agrees with you, Adam, saying that we can't just assume that AI is just goodness only. It has a bad side to it, and we need to be reminded of it.
Lower back pocket optional, important for Tim.
Yeah, I think there is the issue of any technology can be used for good and bad. In addition, I think that the frame of this is much too industrial. And what we're dealing with here is something that's much more organic and decentralized or hybridized. And so I think that the control mentality is wrong-headed, is where I have a problem.
Yeah, I think your point about the fact that we're going to have super intelligence in every pocket makes this whole argument a little moot. So yeah, I think important it is.
Graham is arguing here that it's an important topic to manage risk. And he's thinking maybe essential, John, in your vein, but important.
Important it is.
Essential. No, okay. Important.
End of debate. Thanks. Let's move on, Akash.
Okay, the next one comes from Google, and it talks about how INSAIT is creating leading Bulgarian first LLM with Gemma 2.
Yeah, Luda, Gemma 2 in Bulgarian. What do you think of this news?
I know. An interesting article. Really kudos to Bulgarian to focus on their language and providing the platform that developers who can actually work in Bulgarian and English. So a great effort. I applaud it. And their model is called BGGPT. What they've worked on technically was very interesting. They tried to actually conquer the massive catastrophic forgetting that is still a big unsolved problem in LLMs when you add additional training to the original model. So sometimes it just forgets to do stuff well. And so they've done a number of things to conquer that. And in that sense, it's an interesting development. But other than that, I think it's optional.
All right, John, do you agree?
Yeah, I say definitely optional. There's kind of two. I had two angels on my shoulder: the evil, cynical one, and the not so evil, not so cynical one. The evil, cynical one said, "Boy, Bulgaria, for crying out loud, they're smaller than they're 2/3 the size of Citibank. I mean, this is whatever. The whole GDP of the country is 100 billion, but 109 billion. But there's another part of this which I think is really interesting. Optional for sure, but one quick thing. is that the beauty of these large language models is they may actually enable linguistic, cultural, and point of view diversity because of the fact that you can now do the translation, so you don't have to wipe out everything in the kind of industrial mode. So I think this has got a fantastic, heartwarming kind of core, but optional for our AI leader.
Yep.
All right, Vivek, John, good with
Yeah,
optional?
I agree. It is optional, but I like the idea of, again, this just broader trend around utilizing open source models, which these countries don't have the capital to invest in their own pre-trained models. So this is I think we'll see a lot more of this. And to John's point, to just adopt cultural nuances and improve workflows. And they highlighted that they're already starting to pilot this in their version of the IRS and other governmental. So I'd love to see how that's.
And Adam, I'll just add on the optional. I'm not optional as well, but the idea that we have these new tools that get into these niche communication things is fabulous. Indian language, a lot of stuff's going on, but also in the animal kingdom, we already have people doing this for how do we communicate with whales and everything else. So I think we're going to have an explosion of communication tools, all things biological, humans, and everything else. So that sense, kind of countering the early arguments, incredible excitement on the upside of this in these communication areas.
Man, I hope I live to hear what the whales have to say about humanity.
You should have stayed in the water. Yeah.
Oh, and if you believe in reincarnation, I think I was a porpoise in another life, and that's not a pun. I'm not doing it because it's on porpoise. Anyway.
All right, moving along. Thanks. Optional it is.
Okay, so next one comes from Christopher J. Fernandez, and he talks about from one to many AI agents and the hyperscaling of human thought.
Yeah, Vivek, we're talking about Microsoft HR's AI strategy. How did you find this article?
Yeah, no, I rated this important. Maybe I can also vouch for essential, because I think this is the trend that is emerging, and we've talked about this for a couple of years now, and you guys have talked about this on this idea of citizens developers and bringing their agents, and I think he lays out an extremely cohesive strategy on how to implement that. And of course, yeah, it's highlighting the utilization of Copilot and Microsoft tools to do that because they're so well integrated in the organization. But it's about scaling human thought and innovation is really, and then and having this decentralized innovation throughout the organization. I also like, and this is something I've talked a lot about internally as well, is about the meta workforce, that how to develop a workforce that has a group of agents. And I think Paul has talked about this in the past, where you bring your own agents to work. So if you move from one institution to another, you still have some of the agency around what you've developed and some of the ideas. So, and in the article, it lays out a roadmap on how to accomplish this, is building an agent framework around the whole institution, reframing tools to be maybe have them be more augmentative than just pure automation, and really giving agency to employees. So this is a philosophy I'm completely bought in on. So I mean, we're a little bit biased. But,
Yeah, very nice. So an important rating from Vivek. John, where'd you land?
Yeah, it was important, but I was thinking about it after I read it, and I'm going to write a Forbes article on it. I'm going to make the case for essential. I think that here we have for three reasons. One is that when I was an academic, a lot of times when we're looking at technology adoption, we would look for organizations that were highly advanced in terms of their adoption of whatever it is we're looking at. So I think you can make the argument that Microsoft's probably one of the most adopted organizations. So having the head of HR from Microsoft in a certain way is helping us look into the future, whether that future is a year ahead or 5 years ahead, whatever. So I think that's a really important thing. Second thing is, I think it's a very thoughtful article about how the humans and machines interact. And as you say, Vivek, we've been talking about this for some time here on this channel, and anyway, I think that this is going to be a central issue for senior executives. And then the third thing I thought was just some really nice, not any financial data, but really nice examples and so forth of how they think about the problem. So I think this is one of the critical places that senior executives are going to understand over the next 6 to 18 months that they have to start thinking about when they think about AI. It's not just going to, it's much broader than a traditional net present value, internal rate of return, notion. That's important too, of course, but it's just the beginning of the conversation. So I'm going to vote for essential.
Yeah, and let me just add one more thing. I completely agree with you, John. And I'll just give you my own example. When just simple tasks that we do is creating HCP profiles. When we go and in medical affairs, go and meet specific HCPs, and you spend a lot of time looking through their websites and social media. And I just created a bot that will just aggregate all that information, and that saves me maybe half an hour. So that's something I developed, a year and a half ago. Now to bring it to my new company as well to be able to do that. So these things are going to your point, this is the path most companies will realize that's going to be the gains, these small gains, including those big, large enterprise-wide projects. So.
But like, that's such a great example. So instead of kind of bringing a macro in Excel, you brought your own intelligence in terms of a little program you wrote in the citizen coding. That is fantastic.
All right, Luda?
Yeah, I was important, but listening to John and Vivek, I can support essential. It is, in essence, what this article says. Look, at the very beginnings, we were opening the AI capabilities to all people in the enterprise. This one argues that, yes, you absolutely have to do that, but on top of that, you have to create a meta structure of expertise that comes from every person and navigate that network to create sort of differentiated additional impact. That's, yeah, in that sense, this is essential.
All right, heading towards essential. I was important as well, and remain pretty convinced at this point. Paul, you okay with that?
Just two things to add. So we're right in the middle of fundraising. So I've had a lot of senior conversations with that. Yesterday I was with Shakar Ghosh at Harvard, who's talking about the mindset of a lot of the execs. He's been doing education here. And it's, back to your point, John, executives need to get their head around. This is not an IT thing. There's a radical thing. And this article coming up with this $20,000 a month pro tier at OpenAI fits in with this thing here. So I think it's absolutely essential. And the last thing is we've seen now, I've seen cases where the companies are so overwhelmed with AI, they said, listen here, we're just going to trust our existing IT partners to figure out what we need to do in AI. And Microsoft clearly is that for the office workers through Office 365 and their huge dominance in that here. So essential as well. Adam, yet again, now we're really beating up the essential ones. This is a new high.
It's the week for it. It's the week for it. Excellent. Great points, everyone. Essential it is. Let's jump to the next one.
Okay, the next one comes from Microsoft and talks about their new sales agents.
Yeah, speaking of, here we go again with the sales agent from Microsoft. More agents, John. What do you think?
Yeah, look, cool new thing. Everybody's doing it. Optional.
Say less. Luda, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. They are announcing the product that will be a sales agent, but they haven't really gotten it out into the market. So it's a product announcement, essentially. Yeah, optional.
All right, heading towards an optional. Vivek, you're good with that?
Yeah, AI in the loop for every interactions, but that's something we've talked about a lot already. So AI leadership
cool.
This.
Cool story, bro. Optional it is. Let's move along.
Okay, the next one comes from Salesforce. Salesforce has introduced Agentforce 2DX.
Hey, Adam, just before you head there, I did want to call out something Lucinda said here about this part of recruiting and retaining and training super workers. I think is a really interesting idea, and I think it's relevant to this too. But I think we are going to have a whole category of people who are like Vivek. They're bringing the robots with them. You know what I mean? And that's going to be really interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, no, great point. Thanks, John. All right, so we're on to Agentforce version 2.5. Vivek, what do you think of this news?
Yeah, I think similar to the previous, I was in the same boat. It's a product announcement incorporating more agents into workflows specific to CRM, customer service, HR, supply chain, that they are autonomous. If you're using a Salesforce as your partner for the CRM, absolutely, this is important to understand and start incorporating it. But otherwise, for the leader, it's just another product announcement.
All right, fair. Everyone good with that?
Yep.
All right, thanks. Kaj, let's move along.
The next one that we have comes from the information, and it talks about how OpenAI is plotting to charge $20,000 a month for PhD level agents.
Yeah, good luck with there not being a moat. We'll see how long this lasts. Luda, what do you think of the announcement?
It's not an announcement, it's a rumor, and information is very good at that, right? So I rated it as optional. Let's see where it lands. But essentially, it says, look, OpenAI realizes that there's value for sure to enterprises at different levels for different constituencies of usage. And so it should be charged differently. And so they're considering 2,000 per month, 10,000 per month, and 20,000 per month for the PhD level researchers who are, say, finding a new drug for cancer. So really deep research where it's certainly worth spending 20,000 on tools like this. So from my perspective, optional yet. But it will become important when it hits because it will change the market dynamics in terms of pricing.
Optional for now. John?
Yeah, also optional. I was thinking about important just because, Paul posted on this the other day. I think it raises a really interesting question about how we're going to price these things. And I love thinking about pricing and not just absolute price, but what's the pricing model? You know what I mean? Is it per month, per seat? Is it per transaction? Is it, cross-subsidized by something else? My prediction is that that there are so many organizations that, like Microsoft, who have other ways to extract value in a customer relationship, that I think they will price these things very aggressively. And I think the other thing about Microsoft and the reason I'm long Microsoft as a company is that AI is going to make their core so much more productive. AI has made them more capital intensive than they were in the past. They'll get through that, and their cost of capital is so low anyway. But on the other side, 40% of their cost base is R&D and software at least, and it's going to have a material impact on the productivity of that. So somebody like that, I think, is going to cross-subsidize this thing. And if OpenAI goes to 20 grand, Microsoft's going to come in under that. And I think we're going to find lots of businesses that will cross-subsidize the intelligence associated with a product or service to win share and hold on to customers. So I would predict that something like this won't hold, but it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, they might actually overprice it, right? And then it opens the gate for others to come in and grab the market share at the lower price. So it's an interesting dynamic. So, and that's why they haven't announced anything yet, right? They're thinking. Right. So.
All right. Optional rumor or alleged
well, Adam, I'll be the minority. I'm on the essential side only because it's so thought-provoking. I think many organizations will find this a slam dunk, easy to do. John, our friend Ben Shapiro at Harvard Business School sent me an email on this and said, "Paul, aren't they just anchorings when you do a high price and get everyone to buy low?" I don't think so at all. I think when you're the CIA, when you're NASA, when you're a hedge fund, you're a private equity firm for $240,000 a year, you get the absolute best model from the best company that's going to be researching stuff that's high impact, I actually think they're going to be good. So that was one. And second is, I think it forces the AI leader to start thinking about what these augmented teams are, and not to think about these as consumer tools or $20 a month. That's BS. I'm not paying for that. But just as you outsource your hosting, you are now going to start outsourcing intelligence, and intelligence is not going to be cheap. And your competitor may well choose to outsource intelligence at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year and have a huge competitive advantage here. So that's my argument for essential.
I could support that. I mean, I think I was leaning toward important for the same reason, but I think it does raise a really important set of questions that you just laid out there.
Look, I'll flag it on essential. If nothing else, this isn't the kind of news that an executive doesn't want to be aware of, right? Someone's going to talk to them about it this weekend, right? And they need to know about it.
That's a Tim Andrews thing here. There's certain things the AI leader needs to be aware of, because
they can't be caught out not having heard about this. Yeah.
And I think this even kind of gives more credence to what I've learned from John is around capital substitution of labor. Now, really, it's now we're moving to the places where we are going to get very high quality labor for much cheaper, right? To what Paul had just posted on his LinkedIn, I highly recommend.
And I think also for me, there's this mental shift that has to happen, because I'm still thinking about the AI tools we have now, and that there's no way, even if you made an agent with them, it would be worth 20 grand a month. But we're not talking about what we have now. We're talking about what they're going to deliver in this system, which is going to be probably next level, right?
It's going to be so disruptive,
like you're saying,
right?
Paul, it's outsourcing the intelligence. Yeah.
And Adam, remember, we're living in a world where last September, nobody thought that these deep research and agentic research tools would be so good and so prolific in 90 days. So, I mean, who knows what's around the corner here? Yeah.
Microsoft would have them running on their laptops. I mean, it's extraordinary, the pace.
Wow.
Yeah. I think Ashish, raises a really interesting question, which is what's going to be the marginal cost of intelligence? And I agree with you, Ashish. I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to the price. I agree with you, Paul. They should be thinking about it, but
maybe important, guys. Maybe cut it into important.
I'm leaving it at essential so they don't get caught out not being aware of the news.
Okay.
I think it's a sensational enough piece of news that they don't want to have someone mention it this weekend and they hadn't heard about it.
Well, that makes sense.
So for that reason, essential it is, and extraordinary. We'll see what happens. I'm here for it. Last article of the night or the morning for all of you. Thanks, Ankaj.
Adam, just before we move to the next article, basically, I agree with that. All the AI leaders need to know about OpenAI thinking about this stuff. But still, I have used deep research. What is the effectiveness of these tools? Do they guarantee this $20,000 per month cost or price? Because still 50% of the stuff that deep research is throwing at us, we need to cross-check it. There needs to be a human in the loop. So thinking that OpenAI's bots will do PhD level research work in areas like biotech, where accuracy is most important, I don't think so. These tools will be effective, let's say, till the time they add an evaluation model like Selene that we discussed yesterday and have it check each and everything that deep research is generating. So it's still spitting out links which are not working, which are not there. So just on the effectiveness part of it, I am still puzzled that do they warrant such attention?
But
Good point.
But Ankaj, my argument is not on the individual basis. My argument is that for a company, instead of having 5 researchers at $200,000 each, you spend $300,000 on humans and buy $240,000 PhD to augment that team. So you still have subject matter expert in the loop, just have a lot more PhD drudgery work taken out by.
That's right, Paul. But we still have to review the entire thing that they generate because we don't know where the hallucination is, right?
Correct. Acknowledged and agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good thought piece on that a couple of weeks ago about the problem with these reasoning models, and if there's even 1 in 100 things that isn't correct, you have to read all of the output anyway. But Paul, you make a great point. I'm still leaving it at essential. Let's go on to the last article. Thank you, Ankash. That was a great point.
So the last one comes from Contextual AI, and their new model is crushing GPT-4o in accuracy.
Yeah, John, jump in.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, I was going to give this an important. Yeah, I think it's interesting. They're, if I remember right, about 10% better in terms of accuracy. They're up in the high 80s. This issue of being able to come in with a different model and surpass the market leader in terms of accuracy, I think is huge. I think the whole way that we manage truth in these probabilistic systems, I just think. I think we're thinking about it the wrong way. As we look at people who are actually in production with probabilistic systems like these, they have a whole process for assuring the right level of quality and truth. And so, stopping at the edge of the model, I think is not the way this is going to work. For example, Quantum Gears has got a product and they're out there, and when they hit a probabilistic part, they have different truth protocols. One of them is to give the answer to three. To give the question to three models and then look at, evaluate the answer with three other models, and then they take the vote of those three models. And other times they say, okay, we can actually, look up parts of this so we can, have a deterministic check, and they look at that. So anyway, I give it an important. It's not I don't think it's the way truth and quality are going to be managed in production. At least that's not what we're seeing.
I would argue, John, for what you said, it's essential. And linking it to the article just before it, right? When Ankash said, look, quality is not there. This is how quality will get improved. And it's pushing the envelope on how do you either improve RAG or add other methods on top of RAG, and how you think about quality, how you evaluate it. And that is absolutely critical for the AI leader, especially putting stuff into production. So I feel this is essential as a topic. And there's advancements, and from people who know what they're talking about, I think it's an essential read.
Vivek, what do you think?
I was on the optional side. This is just another strategy that is being utilized, and we've talked about several other ones in the past few months around reducing and increasing accuracy of these models. I mean, Claude just released their API that claimed about 0% hallucinations. So I think the concept is great, and then it's domain-tuned models is the great. So I could be talked into an important, but not. I was not essential.
Paul?
I mean, this vendor, we added this vendor to our watch list. They've raised $100 million. They're going after RAG, enterprise RAG, a very credible team. I had this as optional for now. I think they need to get some more sales wins. They have a few good case studies. But I think from our AI analysts, it's obviously on their radar screen, but for AI leader, it's still early. It's optional.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, also it isn't actually available yet. This is an announcement of a new model that they've just been testing, and I think I'm siding with Vivek. It seems to me like we have seen a few of these lately. It's another approach. It's an important topic, but this product announcement itself is probably.
And Adam also gets all these benchmarks. Oh my God, look at that! I'm 2% better than this benchmark.
Yeah, I wonder to what extent they built it to the benchmark as well. It's always a possibility.
Yeah, the article doesn't say whether it's available or not.
And it's comparing to the last generation of models, the 3 months old models, right? Not the 01s and the 37s as well. So that's
the issue, however, is very critical. This
100%.
is very important.
Absolutely.
All right, John, Luda, are you going to be okay if we call it optional, or are you going to insist?
Okay, yeah, I can live with optional because of it's an announcement of a vendor. But
very good. We're ticking along here, Ankash. If you'd like to get our final board together, we'll call that optional. John, any other announcements? Luda?
Nope.
Nope. Fantastic. Well, we ended up with 2 essentials on the night. Microsoft HR's AI strategy, and making sure they hear about the $20,000 potential price tag on the PhD level agents from OpenAI. Other than that, we have one important and the rest optional. Thank you, Vivek. As always, it's a pleasure to be here. And from the whole team of analysts, thanks to Ram and Lucinda, Ashish, everyone who's joined us on the chat tonight or this morning. We always appreciate your participation. And until next time, have a good day.
Thank you all.